Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
As I sat in the hall in Birmingham, I had to pinch myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming. Putting British people first. Foreign doctors and students out. Companies forced to reveal how many foreign workers they employ. Of course, the British people are black, British people are Asian, and we are a proud rainbow nation. But that wasn't the dog whistle I heard at the Tory conference.
The test should ensure people coming here are filling gaps in the labour market, not taking jobs that British people could do.
Is it right to carry on importing doctors from poorer countries that need them, whilst we turn away bright home graduates desperate to study medicine?
You train up local young people before you take on cheap labour from overseas.
Listen, I agree we need to talk about immigration. But how can the government claim to lead a country that works for everyone when the message I heard was the old BNP slogan, British jobs for British workers?
Well, the reality is, of course, Rachel, that your role as a columnist and social butterfly is unlikely to be exploited or taken over by a Bulgarian or a Romanian. So yet again, I'm sorry to go down this hoary old line, but you are just not living the lives of ordinary people. Your job, your husband's job, your job, does not depend on being in a factory and being a builder, being a carpenter, being a plumber, whose pay has either been absolutely decimated or pegged for year after year after year because of the arrival of these people. What is wrong?
Okay,
and where do you get anything to do with the BNP?
Nick.
That line was used by Gordon Brown, for God's sake. Where do you get this as a BNP line?
Well, it does have echoes of British jobs. Listen, OK, Nick, let me turn this back to you. If you were building a cupboard in your bedroom and you got two quotes, one was from a British carpenter, and it was £4,000, then you got one from a Polish carpenter, and it was £1,500. Which one would you go for?
I'd see both the work. I wouldn't automatically go for...
Come on, Nick, come on. Look at me in the eyes and tell me you wouldn't go for the lower quote.
I'd be tempted to, but I'd probably try and ring somebody that he did some work for first, because it's just too cheap.
And what if they said the Poles were very good, they were quick, they were
fantastic,
efficient?
Then I'll employ the Polish bloke.
OK, and then you would have been putting this British worker...
No, he's got to bring his price up, but I don't quite see what's got to do with the Conservative Party.
Well, no, he's being
building a
undercut
cabinet
by
in my
British...
bedroom.
How many of the people that are criticising the impact from workers have Polish nannies and Bulgarian builders? And the point is not that it's valid to have the debate about immigration, but it's the way you have the debate. It's the language you use. And for me, when I saw that speech at conference, I thought it said much more about us than it does about any real issue about immigration, because when Gordon Brown used that phrase, he was absolutely lampooned by everybody. It is a BNP phrase, and he borrowed it. And actually, we can see now what David Cameron said when Gordon Brown used that phrase. I think we've got a clip that we can show you the contrast.
If you want one example, just one example of the absolute bankruptcy of this government, take the slogan the Prime Minister wheels out every week. British jobs for British workers. Yes. I did a bit more research to find out where he got his slogans from. Here's one he borrowed off the National Front. Here's another one he borrowed off the British National Party. Yes. Where was his moral compass when he was doing that?
How can it be that David Cameron asked where your moral compass is for bringing that up, and now, just a few years later, it's completely acceptable?
All right, keep it your way. Keep it your way. Don't let British kids get jobs. Just let them stay in their bedrooms with a life without employment, with a life without hope, just sitting there watching daytime TV and drinking cans of Stella Rossa.
So the reason there are unemployed British kids is because of foreign
carry on doing it your way. Don't give a damn about people up in the north who haven't got any bloody work or they've been undercut.
Nick, this is just...
So liberal, London. So liberal. I wish you guys would actually get out of the bloody M25 every now and again. The only time you do is when you get on a train to go to Birmingham for the Conservatives.
Rachel, for me, you've just argued, you've just proved the point, because what you just said to Nick is if you've got two people coming into your bedroom
to fit a cupboard, and one will do it for whatever, 4 grand, and one will do it for 1,500 quid. You choose the 1,500 quid. And that, to me, is one of the problems that we've got here. So when you're talking about, if you've got a carpentry company and they're going into Nick's bedroom and all they are doing is hiring...
There's a lot going on in my bedroom.
I know.
Quite extraordinary.
If you've got a carpentry company and all they are doing is, let's stick with your example, hiring Polish carpenters in order to give Nick's bedroom a quote of £1,500, then that is a problem for all of the British trained carpenters that can't do it for £1,500, that are doing it for £4,000. So what they're trying to do is say to that carpentry company, how much of your workforce, and I'm sticking with your example, how much of your workforce are Polish carpenters? If all you're doing is hiring 100% of Polish carpenters in order to undercut, I don't know, the British carpenter down the road, this is where the problem is, and this is what they're trying to resolve. So for me, you're arguing the point. You're arguing the point that you're trying to undo. So I'm a bit confused.
No, I was putting the moral dilemma of British companies having, in quotes, an addiction to foreign labour. I'm putting the whole dilemma to Nick, which is that when you are given 2 quotes and one's lower, you are tempted to take the lower quote, despite the ramifications down the line, there may be the local community ramifications.
But this is a party conference. Yeah. This is a party conference. A party conference is people, particularly people in government, say all sorts of ridiculous things that they then never do.
Unless you already rode back on the Home Secretary,
I mean, the suggestion that they're going to ask companies to report are they bringing in non-British labour? I mean, what is British labour?
They already do that in America, Greg. You say it's unusual, but I mean, they copied this from America.
Well, I was working out while we were coming in here. I think I must employ over 1,000 people in different businesses that I'm involved in. We won't do it. I mean, I think a lot of us just say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I mean, actually, in one of my businesses, where we're looking for engineers, we cannot find British engineers. We are now advertising in Italy and Poland to try and get the right sort of engineers, because we can't get them here.
I think this is all tinkering. You know, when you talk about the North, I mean, I spend about half of my time as a professional in the North talking to people about unemployment. It's quite clear that the structural causes of unemployment are not that Polish people are coming in and doing jobs. You know, it's long-term, the long-term decline of manufacturing, the complete, destruction of the economic base in the North. The idea that then Eastern Europeans who come in and do agricultural picking or cleaning jobs for the minimum wage are the reason that people are suffering. No, but the point is, instead of addressing the long-term causes of decline and globalization and unemployment, we're just picking the obvious foreigner as a target, and it's just unfair, and that's what worries me. It's the unfairness and the dishonesty about it. I mean, we're talking about workers. What about universities as well? Our universities wouldn't have been able to survive if it wasn't for the money they'd be making off foreign students. And the university I went to was heavily reliant on American visiting students. Now, I don't hear anyone complaining about American students. We all know they're talking about students from Bangladesh and India.
I was Chancellor of University of York for 10 years, and in the difficult years, we relied, 10% of the students were Chinese. And without those Chinese students, that university would not have grown in the way it's grown. And that goes for many of them. And the idea of suddenly blaming students, I mean, it's pathetic. But I just don't think it'll happen. I just think this is the sort of nonsense that you get at party conferences.
The symbolism of it is so dark because it's flaming those divisions, and it's giving legitimacy to the idea that you can just blame the visible foreigner in the room.
What's dark about trying to get your own indigenous population jobs?
What it does is it
When you say indigenous population,
what is dark
how
exactly
do you define that?
British, I'm going to say kids, but I know there are plenty of people who aren't kids who aren't.
What do you mean by indigenous?
No, British.
Right, so you don't mean white?
Of course I don't. Don't be serious.
Okay, so
if you carry on with it, I'll piss off, because that's just ridiculous.
Let's put you a bit further.
That is just offensive.
I'm a Polish person that came here 10 years ago, and now got a family here. What are they?
What do you mean?
Well, what are their kids?
Sorry, you're Polish.
I'm Polish, been here 10 years. What are their kids? Are they British?
Where have the children been born?
They've been born in Poland or born here.
They've been born in Poland. Let's try and get British people into... Listen, let me ask you this. This is what I always say. Afua, seriously, would you really look after next door's children before you would your own?
Of course not. I'd look after my own children.
Okay, stop.
But it's easy to define who are my children.
I don't know what you don't understand about the word stop. Stop for a second, right? So if you agree with that, why can't we look after British... I'm going to use the word kids again. British kids getting work rather than those from overseas.
Because... But the point is, it's not in
There's no point is, I'm right.
It's a completely false analogy. That's
why?
I'm saying it's a false analogy.
We've got tons of, I keep saying, young people and middle-aged people who have not got work. I cannot for the life of me see why folk come from other countries and take the jobs that they could do. I can't see that.
There's a few reasons for that. So number one, if you want to look at how we get people into work, because I do this for a living as well, I help people get into employment. So one of the things you have to do is you have to make sure that people are educated in the skill set that businesses need, because make no mistake, businesses are going to hire the best person for the job. It doesn't matter if they're from down that street or from that country. The business wants the best person for the job. So educationally, you've got to make sure that we're outputting children that are trained to the skills that businesses want. That's point one. Point two, we've got to make sure that our young kids, to quote your point, they understand you start at the bottom. You don't get elevated into this great job. Sometimes you have to do really boring, crap, low-level entry jobs to get your foot into the ladder. You have to. Because sometimes I think what we suffer with is a sense of entitlement. I'm not doing that job, it's rubbish, but I will do this job.
Where does that come from?
Enter somebody in, it's from this cultural sense of entitlement. When I was young, I remember my brothers and sisters, they used to get picked up on a minibus. I didn't, because I got a job at QuickSave. I used to be on the checkout at QuickSave. My brothers and sisters used to get picked up by a minibus and driven to local farms, and they used to do fruit picking and vegetable picking because they had to, because my mum and dad charged us all board. We had to pay board to live at home, so they had to go do that. Nowadays, would the kids go fruit picking, veg picking?
I've done it. Michelle.
But you're
Yeah, but I'm saying nowadays.
No, you're falling for this. You're getting old, aren't you? Because you're falling for this. Oh, it was so much better when I was young.
If my little brother,
Michelle, the childhood memories have got to stop for a second. All I want to say is this is my topic, that what I felt happened at conference, yes, it may have been mood music, but the government basically licensed some British-born people to say, that's my job, you shouldn't have it, you're foreign, you get back to where you came from. And they said, we don't want foreign students, and all the care workers and all the fruit pickers and all the people who run our, build our houses, which...
I agree. Sweep the hospital floors, I agree.
They don't have a right to do those jobs ahead of British people. That was a terrible signal to say.
This is going to rumble on and on in the corridors after here, I can tell.